Hello and welcome to episode 167 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. It's all three of us. It's going to be all three of us for a little while because we want to kind of do this. I say that, it's not. It's going to be for the next couple of episodes and then we're going back to that. But yes, all three of us, James, Jack and Jake, here for you to take you through all the Sheffield Wednesday news. It's obviously closed season. Sheffield Wednesday season is over. We stayed up, all of that. If you haven't watched all of our reaction to that, please go and do it. But we will start the podcast how we always do, and we'll start with you, Jake. How has your week been, my friend?
It's been busy. I was meant to be having a break, and everything broke across the week. It's been mental. But it feels weird because it doesn't feel like a week ago since we stayed up. It feels so much longer. When you actually think about it, it was only last week we stayed up. You know what I mean? It feels like
especially because of all the speculation this week, which we will get into, and God, don't ever comment on speculation, boys, if you don't want the pitchforks to be turned in your direction. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's been fun this week. But I think the situation this week has just been trying to get back into the groove. And I realised something. The reason I was so stressed out and stuff, because we didn't know what was going on with the club. So all through to that week and everything, it was like, I'm really stressed. I ain't got a clue. Now I'm back into my groove of like what I can normally do. And I don't feel as stressed. The weight is off my shoulders. I feel like I'm really ready to crack on and have a good summer. But I am now having to baby-proof the house even more because Hunter is now starting to crawl backwards. So that means he's not going to be long before he's crawling forward. So that's going to be fun. But apart from that, it's been a good week and just very thankful for getting air conditioning in here because it's already been sweltering.
Yeah, I feel that one. Jack, how's your week been, mate?
Yeah, it's been all right. I mean, in general, really, like, you know that meme about the Wednesday fan base that Liam Palmer shared a while ago on Instagram, where it's like the four faces and it's the cycle of like it's all over, something good happens. Oh yes, we're so back. Oh, something goes wrong. That's how I've kind of been feeling for a little bit, and I'm in my we're so back stage at the moment. So that's fun.
Yeah, I actually am as well. It's one of those things
it's that
like
weird cycle that I'm always trapped in, and I don't know. I'm at the we're so back kind of.
I think we've all got to that whole thing where everything seems not on the high, but in a good place with what we're hearing. And you've made a load of videos this week, which have been really good to see. And just because, and I think we've all made a video this week, haven't we?
Yes.
Jack even made one.
I even made one, and it's nice to see that people have got the humour in it.
No, it's good. I was like, oh my God. When you were doing Zoom cuts and stuff like that, and I was like, I used to put that effort into my videos, and now I just don't.
Now you don't really show your camera when you do a career mode. You just hit the record button. You're like, hi guys. You can't even see it. It's just like, hi guys, it's another career mode.
It's a pain in the arse because it's a pain in the arse if I do the camera because it means I have to move the camera or move the console. So I'd rather just now I've got portable microphones.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert,
exactly. Now I've got portable microphones.
You know the nuclear explosion bit at the end of the video. Spoiler alert. That took me 3 hours to film and edit. Just that section, that 1 minute section.
See, this
do you know how
I
you're not monetized on YouTube? The fact you used heavily copyrighted music.
Oh, at the end, they actually allow you to use that. The Beatles allow you to use their music on YouTube with no copyright monetization impact. Yeah, because they're like, Sonic, we've made enough money. There you go, enjoy. That seems to be what the case is. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice to kind of get a proper Wednesday video out. That's not me just being like, sell up Chansiri. Alternatively, not taking the approach Jake did that went quite viral a while back. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's time to get productive and stuff again. I always
exactly. We've all sort of. This is the time that I do start making videos again because there's stuff to talk about that's relevant to sort of like the vibe of my channel and bringing it about as being good. Obviously, the retain list could drop at any minute, so we're sort of all waiting on bated breath for that one. Which
June 2nd.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Possibly.
That's
Even
a bit
though
late,
most of
isn't
the
it?
bloody people that are leaving the club at the end of the contracts or whatever have been leaked anyway. Like,
Yeah, but the thing is,
yeah.
but the ones that you know are probably leaving. That's
yeah.
the thing. How's your week been,
But
James?
my week, yeah, it's been doing some bits a little bit poorly earlier in the week, back through sort of like, I think it's just the crash of everything with the weekend and lack of sleep and when we were dog sitting.
I sent you a message during the week going, "How are you?" You just was like tired. ...
Yeah,
and you
tired.
were like, "I'm going to reply to you later when I can think of something good to say to you."
Pretty much. It was one of those, but yeah, it's been good sort of thing in terms of we're doing all the. I'm getting dragged into Eurovision stuff tonight, I think, at the time of recording this podcast. Yeah. So that's going to be a thing.
How have I
And I'm going to be like, hopefully at least one of the songs is barely decent. Because there was one last year that I was like, this is basically poppy Rammstein. I dig this. But everything else is, yeah. But yes, it's just an excuse to have a few drinks, really, isn't it? So we'll do that. Oh, God, that's so British, isn't it? An excuse.
Drinks, yeah.
just
drink.
have a few drinks. Oh, yes.
And the Euro's coming, so that's another excuse to have a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing. I can't wait for that because I'm sort of planning that out. Because obviously, I don't live with my folks anymore, so it's sort of sorting out when my dad's going to come up for the games, when I'm going to sort that, when we're going to do, rotation and things like that. When I may have a game with my mates as well and things. Whereas it always used to just be a case of
we do a Talking Wednesday group watch along like we did for the last game of the England game.
Potentially, but it's one of those where I think international football, I've got a tradition with it. So it's one of those things that I don't know if it'd be doable online, but it's obviously the coverage is going to change. The Talking Wednesday will have the international breakout at the end of it. So there will be that side of it because we do that during a tournament. We do the England topics and things like in England and obviously Scotland.
Jack, because he's not a big fan of international football.
I just find it boring. Like, I'm sorry, I know it's not very patriotic of me or whatever, but I just find it really boring. Like, but then that's probably just Gareth Southgate's football, isn't it? Really, but yeah. Oh, I've just.
Do you actually like football, Jack?
Yes. Yes, I do. And I've just had a thought as well. Do you remember the stream that we did recently? Was there any backlash to my comments on the leafy wallpaper? Or did that not ever really get touched upon?
No,
yeah,
I think
yeah. Also, thank you, lad, for coming on that. That was a lot of fun.
No, that was all right. I was a few glasses of wine down at that point, actually, because you decided to do it later on in an evening where I wasn't working the next day, and I was like, this is not a good idea.
I could tell. It reminded me of the transfer deadline stream we did a couple of years ago.
Oh, God.
Where I had to jump on because you obviously, I said I'm not in the best nick, but I'll jump on because you're ill. And I was like, here we go.
And then Sophie had to keep elbowing you because you were about to say something really, really chaotic and scuffed and potentially get.
It's because I get a little bit more like you.
Yeah,
that's the thing. The that side of things. But
it was good though
because you get in the vibe of it, don't you? But yes, it was fun. It was good to be involved in that.
I think this last game really brought the podcast and us lot back together again of being on the same page.
Let's stop being soppy now, shall we? We've been too nice to each other.
No, but all right, Jesus.
I'm joking.
And do you know what? It's actually nice that Jake's in a better mood now because he's been horrible to talk to for the longest time. He's been such a miserable sod. Like,
let's
just remind him every episode. That'll do well.
Nothing. Like, bloody hell, man. I'm so glad that you're in a better mood now.
The thing is, it's more of a case of I know Jake well enough now to be like, I'm going to leave you alone, and we'll talk when you're feeling better and you've had your Snickers or the chocolate bars are available.
It's like I've asked him a simple question about something, and he's like, "Oh, but I told you to do this 6 months ago. Oh, but I told you so."
On that one,
yeah, I get that though, Jack, because I also work with you, mate.
Pure frustration and me giving you information and 6 months later going, I'm doing this and getting this, and I'm going, I told you 6 months ago. You got this 6 months ago. Your life would have been sorted for 6 months beforehand.
Anyway, this podcast is going to be long enough, so I'm actually going to cut our waffle a little bit because we actually have quite a lot to talk about. So we obviously did... I just want to kind of mention this at the start. We all did Danny Röhl speculation stuff, right? Yes, anybody who knows my channel knows how it works. I capitalized on the fact that it had been suggested by Dom Howson that Hull were interested in Danny Röhl.
Really doesn't like us anymore, does he?
I framed mine in that way because that's the way it had been framed in there. So I was like there. But then as soon as you watch the video, you realize that actually I don't think that's got any legs. But this is how the internet works in terms of creating discussion. And that's the thing when you've got this. People who enjoy our content, if you would like to see us continue to do the content, you have to support when we play the algorithm game a little bit. Because it's just a title, guys. Calm down. Whereas we have, the reason the podcast exists, believe it or not, is because this is where you get your nuanced discussion, where we go into things in depth. When I call the episode something completely random that only people who actually watch the podcasts with length would get. The breakouts, yes, they are to draw more eyes to the podcast, but the podcast is completely... There's nothing clickbaity about it or whatever. It's here as a long-form conversation. Yes, if things are broken down a little bit more, that's how we grow an audience. Just in case people didn't realize how this whole bloody platform worked. Jake.
Yeah, pretty much. You nailed it. You pretty much nailed it. But I think the thing with all the speculation, I think it's going to be like this all season, innit? He's done such a good job. The speculation.
I love silly season. As long as he doesn't actually leave, let's drink it in.
Yeah.
Do you know what? If professional journalists are going to clickbait their way into trying to get other forms of new journalism work again on social media, we can too. Leave us alone. And that just goes to all of the people that criticise the clickbaitiness or whatever, jumping on the Danny Röhl's going bandwagon. Clearly, they need to watch the video. Because it's not actually what happens. The type.
I will say actually though, that's only that was a minority of comments because I think people get it now. Yeah. That's the thing. That's something I've got to say. I'm just saying it for the people that are obviously went to that, but the majority of people who probably watch this podcast were the people who realised what I was saying and joined the debate. Go on, sorry, Jake.
Just talking about journalists, I don't think we've mentioned it on here, or we have. Joe Cran's leaving the Star. We're losing a very good journalist.
He's covered Wednesday for a while now. He's I don't quite know what he's doing next, sort of thing.
I think he's doing stuff for still the Star, but with the National World who own it. So I think it's he can be more freelance than covering just Wednesday. So his wife is South African. You know what all the things, political stuff with getting people into the country and how much money you've got to have. I think it's a family reason why he's doing it.
It doesn't need to be stuck to Sheffield anymore, basically. There's those sort of things. So, basically just, thank you for your coverage. Obviously, we've quoted your articles quite a lot, and his work has been part of what we cover. So thank you for your coverage there. And also, be interesting to see what happens, because obviously... Alex Miller's staying at the Star. Did he bring somebody else in? That sort of thing.
Dom, Ricky, and now Joe.
But yeah, the Star will obviously still have that beat, so it'll just be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, because one of the first we'll go into the news because the first thing is from the Star, which is actually quite. I smiled when I saw this. Right, so. The title is as follows, quote, eye-watering Danny Röhl compensation terms revealed amid Sheffield Wednesday future speculation. Any club wishing to take Danny Röhl off Sheffield Wednesday's hands would have to part with a hefty compensation fee to do so, the Star understands, with an even greater fee necessary to take his coaching staff too. The highly rated Owls boss has been at the centre of speculation with regard to his future in the last weeks. End-of-season talks between the German coach and the Wednesday chairman, Des von Chansiri, are understood to have been positive, with meetings held either side of the competition of their survival mission at Sunderland last weekend. The Star will skip that bit, and we will go into the meat and bones of it, basically, because it just goes into the context, which you can read from the article. I'll stop quoting the article now and basically say this is the meat and bones of it. If you want Danny Röhl from Sheffield Wednesday, you're paying £5 million for him alone in compensation. If you want him and his staff, it's £10 million. Jack, what do you think to this one?
I think it's just an excellent move because it's protecting your assets, which is something that, frankly, the club has barely ever done in the past. I think the last time we did it was Steve Bruce, and that was it. Yeah. And I just think it's excellent. And to me, this also says someone has approached us, and like this hasn't come out for no reason. I think there's another club that's made an approach for Danny Röhl, and I can even see it with the way that a certain other club as ownership model has acted in the past. Who we bought a player from not that long ago, if you remember that, and they were taking the mickey.
You can't name the club, you know.
You talking about Hull?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hull. Basically, I was trying to cover my backside.
You could just say alleged and then quote the club. It's not a problem, mate.
When has it been your remit to like not dig at clubs and protect them? You're going off brand here, Jack.
I know. But basically, I think Hull how their owner behaved in the whole Wilkes transfer saga not that long ago, it wouldn't even surprise me if it was them, given that they were the named club in several journalistic sources saying that they were looking at Danny Röhl. If they've actually come and approached us and Chancery's
I think I said this in my video, right? Yeah. But I actually I don't know if I said this specifically. Obviously, I was talking about the speculation with Hull, which I agree. I don't know if there's been an approach there. I wouldn't say that myself, but I definitely think there's interest there, and when it's been reported interest. But for me, just Sheffield Wednesday a better proposition at the minute, specifically.
Yeah.
Right? Because I actually think with Danny Röhl, we'll finish higher than Hull next season.
Oh, so, yeah. I think so too.
And he's already got the foundations in place here. So that's probably why they want him as well. But Jake, your thoughts on the compensation package for Röhl and his staff?
I think it's very smart. I've seen a lot of people go, why would you put it out there? You don't want people knowing this. Now, just bear in mind, Liverpool have just paid $9.4 million for getting the manager out of Feyenoord to go there.
Yep.
And a lot of clubs do this. It's been well known that Jose Mourinho's done it. Brendan Rodgers has had it done. And here's the thing. I know some people have gone, it's standard in football. It's not standard for this football club to do it. That's the thing. Like the last time we did it, we got 6.4 million for Steve Bruce and his staff. Now, we're just wanting 5 million for one person, not the entire staff. And I think it's where Chancery's been criticised in the past, you have to kind of credit him on this one. He's protecting something there. And also, this is while he's still only on a contract till 2025. This isn't with the new deal. If the new deal comes in, that they're talking about, and this could be something that a new deal been discussed and they want to put this in place again as well. And what not to say that Danny hasn't turned around to Chancery and gone, hey, I really like it here, and if a approach come, I would like you to get some money out of this. Because he does seem like he's fallen in love with this club and the fan base. He's taken to us that well. Does that make sense? It's like it could be something that
it does. The way I see it is obviously we have learned the hard way with things. It was more of a decision of Darren Moore we could mutually terminate, but the Steve Bruce thing, you could tell it hit Chancery hard. And learning from that, I think he'll have probably had this in quite a few of the manager's clauses going, but it's never been a question before because we've never really cared. But now we do. And I think 5 million for the manager, that makes sense because then if they're not going to pay for his whole staff, you've got to find someone to manage the model that we've gone for, because we've gone for more of a model at Sheffield Wednesday now. You can see that with Danny Röhl's staff and the way we're doing things. So 5 million, right? Okay,
thinking as well.
We lose him, but that's the thing. That's the likelihood. Somebody's going to have to. The likelihood is Danny Röhl's going to want his staff because he's built something. So it means that a team that are going to come in are going to have to spend £10 million, which is if you think it's a championship team, for example, that is pretty much their transfer budget. Yeah. If anything, if not more. So, probably more. Let's be honest, it's more than most transfer budgets.
If you've got a championship team that just come down from the Prem, they could probably use it out of the parachute money.
Yes, that's the only thing there. But that also means that we've got a contingency in place for £10 million to, right, okay, this has happened. We're probably not going to get someone as good again, but let's try and build that system again. And we've got, if the worst happens, we've got £10 million. And I think that's just smart.
Do you remember with Deep Brew, when Deep Brew came in, there was talk that Deep Brew was showing Chancery on how to run a football club a little bit more successfully with putting things in place? I think Danny doing the same. But I think Danny getting a lot more spoke about in terms of it because of where Danny managed more than how
I don't think this has come from Danny. I know why you could see that, but I actually think and I'm not giving Chancery over credit. I actually think Chancery's done this from past issues we've had. That's where I think it's come from. Yeah.
I even wonder if Hansi Flick, when he came to visit that for that Plymouth game, I just wonder if Chancery had a chat with him about like the structure of a club and all that sort of stuff, given that he's managed at all sorts of levels and, you know, from right the way down from like a lower league German team all the way up to the national team. So I just
do you know if this did happen for whatever reason, actually, you know, and I don't think it will happen. I actually don't think Danny Röhl's going anywhere this season now. I'll put that there. But if it does, we'll talk about it if it ever happens. Hopefully not. But I think what you do with that money is, I think the first thing we'll do actually is put a sporting director in place and go that route.
I really hope we did that one day, but for some reason he doesn't like that model. But
I think it's the way we'll do it because we've already built the system around it. So it's the problem we've got with the Danny Röhl thing is the player speculation. Like Windass was doing a podcast, the EFL podcast the other day. I watched it, and he was talking about a lot of players don't know what's going to happen with Danny. So Danny staying is crucial to the players that want to stay. And I'm like, part of me is like, well, I'll tell you what, though, if Danny stays, there'll be a lot of players that won't be good enough for going forward. Nothing against them, but it's I think that, but then again, I think the better players in the squad, the ones with more of a future at Wednesday, that's the ones you think that are waiting on that because they're actually, they will be part of the system, but they'll be challenged more because if Danny's backed, it's exciting. It becomes an exciting season, doesn't it? But yeah,
it's like the first Carlos season all over again, isn't it? Really?
Could be.
Prospects of it all.
Could be. But let's not get too carried away with ourselves. But what I will say, for all the stuff we said, we have to give the balance when we've said negative things about Chancery's ownership. This is a really good move.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, moving on. Just a quick one. We are going to be doing our awards episode very, very shortly. But in terms of the actual awards, Will Vaulks has won Sheffield Wednesday Player of the Year. Jake, your thoughts on that?
Well deserved. I think he coming in, he's done a job in that midfield. I think it's actually kind of nice to see it not be someone like Barry Bannon each year. I think he's really settled into what happened. He had a difficult start to the season under Sicko, and he had a difficult start under Danny to start with. He was really struggling, but he managed to make a role his in that midfield, and he's starting to make it that midfield runs really well with him in it, and I think it's a really good decision. The only thing that annoyed me is that he didn't get a goal this season. It's the first time he's not got a goal since he played at, I believe
up
it was
Scotland,
Falkirk.
I think.
Yeah.
You could tell he was really trying towards the last few games as well.
Yeah.
Anytime that it was outside the box, he was having a pop.
Yeah.
We won't go into this too. We won't try and give away our players of the year here, but do you think it's deserved Will Vaulks Player of the Year, Jack?
I think so, yeah. I think for similar reasons Jake said, really. It's like he's struggled particularly under Xisco, but then also struggled at the start of the Danny tenure ship, if you want to call it that. And he's basically just like completely upped his game. I think personally, he's adapted because I think he's got that. Well, he's got that mindset. He said himself in an interview that he's got. I think it might even be this article where he's said that he's always had that mindset of it's adapt or die. Like. You always need to keep adapting to the current circumstances, otherwise you fall off. You lose pace, you lose your place and everything. And he doesn't want to do that, and he's got a very strong mindset, and like more power to him. Personally, I think he's one of my favourite current Sheffield Wednesday players. Actually, Will Vaulks, for that reason.
Yeah, he gets it, doesn't he? It's weird because it's. I think like if he'd have joined us when he was first supposed to. I just remember him being a player. Like, why don't we have a player like that? Why aren't we signing players like that? I feel like we signed him too late, but he's still got quality. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's deserved from that. Whether he'd be mine, you'll have to wait until the awards episode. But he's definitely been consistent this season, and he's given us something. Especially, I don't think we've really trusted our midfield. If you think about players like Byers going out on loan, we've had to. Well, actually, we didn't trust who we had, but I think then we had to over-trust who we had left because we ended up with injuries and we ended up with a weakened midfield. So he's really stepped up there, and well done to him for getting that award.
It was actually in my head. It's a bit of a throwback, this, but do you remember when, by pure circumstance, we had to keep trusting Giles Coke and David Prutton in the midfield, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Giles Coke's barely played. David Prutton keeps getting injured. Oh God, we're only left with this now. Oh no!" After Ross Barkley got recalled, and then actually it turned out magnificently, and it's basically the same scenario again here, I think, or I found myself thinking that as well. But yeah, it's been quite interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that area of the pitch gets improved, because I think that's one of the higher up priorities in my head about transfer targets and whatnot.
Absolutely. Also, just off topic, how good has Ross Barkley been this season? Like, he's come back to actually.
What a warrior, by the way. Did you see that story about him breaking his nose like 3 times in 3 games or whatever it was? And it was like mental, absolutely mental.
I didn't actually. No.
The talk in the summer that Man United want him.
Oh.
That'd be interesting. He's definitely, he wants to get back into the England. He's going to struggle in his position. He wants to get back into the England squad, though. But yes, I'd love
to have him again. Just
I think by the time he'd be ready to come back here, he'll be done.
Career,
that's the thing.
Payday.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if we get in the Prem, but yeah. Anyway,
I mean, it'd be a smart signing.
Wishful thinking.
If he was. Yeah, in a couple of years, if we were in the Prem, because look at what Luton did. So
exactly.
But yes, let's move on to the next topic. So the Star sort of did a piece on loans, and we're going to talk a little bit more about loans and whether they're the way forward. I will read you this quote from a Star article that's from Danny Röhl, and it says the following. "When I arrived here, you got feedback from players, agents, and other clubs. It was not always easy," Röhl said. "But now you see more and more. A lot of people are recognising what we're doing and how we can improve young players and give them a platform for the next step. It could be a key moment for us in the summer. Premier League clubs could see that they have some good young players and the young players can improve at our club very well. I think we should use this." And then he goes on to speak about James Beadle. Röhl continued, "James knows what he has got from us an environment. The improvement he has had with us, how we improved as a team. I think there is a good opportunity to bring high potential players here, to give them the next step and make them better, prepare them for the future and develop their football side, but also the human side. For me, James is a great example. He made the step from League One to the Championship, but not just any Championship club. He has learned what it is to fight to stay in the league, to come back from some problems, to stay up. James, in this case, has been really, really strong, and his mindset at this age is outstanding. When you see how calm he is, it's fantastic. Maybe there is pressure. Maybe some decisions are not the right ones, but you do get the feeling that he is a young man who is doing this for the first time. You do not get the feeling, he is a young man doing this for the first time. He feels like an experienced one. It is great to see, and hopefully we get to give some new young players this opportunity to improve and develop in the future." So, this obviously is something that made me think about the treatment of Alex Mighton, actually, under Darren Moore's tenure, and the fact that we soured a relationship with a football club, and how Danny Röhl might have come in and transformed how we look to Premier League sides when it comes to loaning players. So I'll start with you on this one, Jack. What could this mean for the future of Sheffield Wednesday and loaning players?
Well, I also want to say that I absolutely love seeing a manager that's so passionate about this side of it, because we've not had that for ages. We've had for the longest time now managers, and I'm including Darren Moore in this as well, that have just kind of loosely spoken on it. They've not really been very direct with how they've talked about their coaching style, what they love about coaching, and it's quite clear to see Danny's passion for developing players. And I just love that this is the mindset going forwards, because it also bleeds into that whole idea that maybe we are thinking of a long-term project here, and it's not just short-term stopgap to short-term stopgap anymore. There's a vision. There's an idea that maybe even hopefully we won't need to be loaning in Premier League youngsters or whatever else in the future, because Danny's wanting to make sure that our academy can then actually make a step up and feed the first team very well, like we've seen a few other championship teams do in the past. And I think this speaks volumes for what could be happening in the future, and next season and the seasons following it as well, is we could end up seeing some absolutely outstanding talents come in the door at Wednesday and just be like watching future England first team players or whatever. Like we've previously watched Ross Barkley here, and we've watched World Cup winner, the Aston Villa goalkeeper Martinez being our net.
Well, we used to be trusted, and when you're at side with limited resources or spending cap, not spending cap specifically, but like a side that's been in trouble with financial fair play previously, and you're not going to want to go down that rabbit hole again. The loan market always makes sense, especially for the thing is you need an exciting system. And you need a system. It only really works under a manager like Danny Röhl, because you can actually fit them in a pressing style system that they will be used to at their parent clubs, which for me is the actual the key, the crucial sort of catalyst in them sending the players here. What do you think on that one, Jake?
I think we used to be very well known that Alex Ferguson, if he wanted to test how a player was, he would send them to Wednesday, because the atmosphere would be quite intense. It would be something that they would get used to playing in front of a big crowd. Now, if you think about Manchester United, their Old Trafford, that's a big crowd environment. I remember when we got Chris Eagles in, and he was very much, I'd take it, he'd gone there because I need him to learn how to play in front of a big crowd, and I know when they'll look after him and they'll improve him. And we've always been a club that's always nurtured loans really well. And until recently. In the past, we were always good at nurturing loans and looking after them. We kind of didn't do it with, do you remember Lewis Baker? Yeah. Who we lent from Chelsea and didn't really do anything under Carlos. But I think it's good to get a relationship where you're known for looking after players. Look at what Ipswich had just done with Omar Hutchinson. He's been outstanding.
Oh, Amari Hutchinson's been just absolutely
he's just been outstanding. He's been outstanding for them, but they got that relationship. Yeah. And if you look at what McKenna done at Ipswich, he's a former youth team manager. Hey, guess what? So is Danny back in his RB Leipzig days. So he knows how to look after academy player. He knows how
the Germany under-21s as well. He was looking after them for a good long time. So sorry, Jake.
I think you've got that thing where if you've got someone who knows how to look after a young talent and make sure. And here's the thing: if a player isn't got his head basically going wrong, we've got Sasha Lenzi can just go speak to our head psychologist. Let's find out what's going on. I think it only makes us better to be trusted with loan players. But here's the thing: if we are going to be that club that loan players again, like a Hector and co, we're going to fall in love with them and then we're going to cry. So let's try and not do that, because we've done that already with Ugbo, who we may be bringing back.
I think if you're smarter with the loans, though, like, for example, there's talk about James Beadle not getting a sniff at Brighton. So if that's the case, he is from Brighton, right?
Yeah,
I've just said that so confidently. Yeah, I was right.
Yes.
Because you know when you say something so confidently, you're like, well, that's just,
but anyway, issue with getting a loan keeper in. I like the idea of it.
No, I'm not going that route. We'll go talk about that in a second. With James Beadle, I don't think
a player.
Yeah, but what we're talking about him, what I'm trying to say about him before I went off is he won't be alone. There's talk about him not getting a sniff at Brighton. So if you are clever with these loans, they can sometimes work out where they can become future transfers. So James Beadle is potentially one of those now because of the situation at Brighton. You get the loan in, you get the player to buy into what you're doing, and all of a sudden they come on the market and you have a chance. Yeah, something like that. But yes, I get what you're saying, Jake, in terms of the keeper. You don't want to. We've loaned that position too many times without ever really replacing Westwood, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the thing with Beadle, if he is out, and the thing is, what we also got, he's only 19.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's if he's already done that. He was a big part of Oxford push, and Oxford are now in the playoff final. So he made a load of clean sheets before then. He made a lot of clean sheets behind us. I think only the Leeds United keeper had a better clean sheet record. When he came in, he really did well.
Yeah, I think he's one we throw a bit of money at.
It's a bit of a left field, but just to bring it back to with what Danny's commented about, the future of harnessing young talent and all that sort of stuff. It's nice to think that Wednesday aren't going to be laughed at so much anymore, because the last few years I know it's really dumb to be feeling quite crestfallen at it, but so many other clubs, or at least their fan bases or whatever, have seemingly just been laughing at Wednesday and using Wednesday as a bit of a verbal punching bag, so to speak. And it's just nice that there's like a modicum of respect being put back onto Sheffield Wednesday again in the eyes of all of these fan bases, or whatever else in this regard. We're going to be looked at as quite highly, that we're going to look after players and have a good reputation again. And I've just been like, I've always talked off air as well about like, I'm just fed up of Wednesday getting laughed at all the time, because it deserves more than that. It's worth more than that. And it's just nice that we're taking these steps again to become not a laughing stock to a lot of other clubs again, They'll always get the club. The fan bases don't tend to like us, so you'll always get fan base
that,
don't like us for whatever reason.
There's a lot of fans that are struggling to actually give the club any credit for what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They're trying to spin it all. It's all. We all know it's Danny Röhl's influence, right? But you trying to give the fact that like we're trying to spin it to the fact that the club don't deserve it, etc.
Interesting when you see a big chunk of United fans that I've seen on Twitter going, look, we can take the mickey out of them as our rivals. You got to say what that man did was incredible.
Yeah, but again, that's a process. It's actually it's the club doing the right thing. It's interesting, isn't it? And I'm not saying Chancery specifically. I'm talking about the club as a whole.
Just the club as a whole, yeah.
They look for any excuse to not give us credit for what we did in the playoffs last season, not give us credit for staying up, sort of thing. They try and pin it to specific things, but that's what you do at a club.
Yes.
It's the club as a whole. So it's got to contribute there, But anyway.
So I know that was a left field thing to say, but it's just...
No, it makes sense.
It's just important to me that I just want, like, Wednesday deserves a bit more respect, and I just feel like a punching bag for the sake of being a punching bag is wrong, and I've not liked it. I thought it's been really scummy from certain other...
You got to remember that.
Well, it's all right. A lot of those fan bases aren't in the same league as us now, so don't worry about that. And
I was going to say that the last two leagues we were in League One, and we were seen as the big dog, so we were the punching bag. So if they got some...
Most of the fan bases that were coming after us are staying in League One or have gone to League One. So we've got some breathing space. Right. Let's skip the next one, because I'm going to route back to that, and I'm going to go to Barry Bannon talking about, this is from the Yorkshire Post. We're going to do some contract talk, basically, based off this. So Barry Bannon has said the following. The Yorkshire Post quote him as saying, "It is important we come back after the summer and carry on that momentum from the second half of the season. I think the chairman knows what he's got. I'm confident we'll see a different Sheffield Wednesday with Danny Röhl in charge. The club has allowed the contracts of 12..." This is not a quote, but this is from the article. "The club has allowed the contracts of 12 players, including Bannon, to enter their final months. Bannon said, I am confident I'll still be here next season after speaking to the manager," said the Scot. Röhl was less reassuring. He said, quote, following, "I will not speak about my future," he said. "We have one meeting with Chancery this week and the rest next one as soon as possible." This was before he had the meeting, obviously. I think the chair... Barry sort of... I think Danny Röhl's probably been speaking to the players, and the players probably get the side of Danny Röhl's he wants to stay at the club and build. There's just got to be the right things in place, which all comes down to Chancery's backing. But if you look at the players that we've got out of contract, who are we keeping? So, Barry, let's start with Barry Bannon. Jake?
Yep. Keeping him.
Jack?
Keep him.
Yeah, it's a simple one, that one. We don't need to go into it. You keep Barry Bannon. People try and underrate him, especially in the Danny Röhl system, by the way. He fits perfectly because we're not as reliant on him. He actually becomes more of the player that he can be in terms of not having to run everything through him.
When he's not the linchpin and everything's running through him, he plays better. He plays when he's not the focal point. He's so
and when
much
things
better.
run through him, he actually is. He's still usually the best player on the pitch because things have to run through him. But it's actually gets the best out of him. We've been saying this for a while. Let's not put so much pressure on his shoulders. And it's one of those things where you identify the best player in your side, and in the past we've just gone, right, just get it to him and we'll do something, right?
We saw an
making him
improvement
captain
in Barry last season.
actually made that more prominent because he's then got the ability to shout and make sure it happens. So I think seeing the improvement, as you just said, Jake, over the last season, going into this season, Danny Röhl is getting the best out of him. So yes, we don't need to go too much into Barry Bannon. We'll go to Josh Windass. So Josh Windass, Jack.
Keep him. Hands down, keep him. We were 10 points better off with him in the side compared to the same amount of games with him out of the side in terms of the points that we collected. So statistically, the side is better with him in it. Keep him. And his work rate, and work ethic, and anyway, sorry.
I say keep him. My only thing is there's a little injury, but that documentary he did recently, he loves being at Wednesday. He's never been at a club that actually likes him as much as we do. And I think that's something that's you've got to take into. I think you keep him because he's the difference between us staying up in theory with the goals he got. When you think about it,
1 year for me. If I'm going to give my opinion on this, I think we keep him, but it's a year for me because
with extension options,
with options, yes. But I think they should be related to appearances,
performance, appearances.
Because it's just a case of like if we are building, he's not going to struggle to find a club, but if he's going to have these injury issues, which is not his fault. I'm not trying to say that, but it's a case of like
he'd been linked this literally a couple of minutes ago with apparently Stoke, Hull, and West Brom.
Okay.
To.
Can Hull go away, please?
And possibly newly promoted Derby County.
Like what?
Fair enough. Well, he's going to have options, and do you know what? I actually see this being a thing. I think we will offer him a year with options.
Yeah.
And I think if Danny Röhl stays, he will take that. Or I think he'll get such a good offer from one of those clubs you have just mentioned that it secures his future. And I wouldn't really mind either way. No. I wouldn't be bitter about it. It'd be one of those things where I would be putting that money. We're going to go for him anyway, obviously, Poveda. Yeah. But I would be, if Poveda was on the line and Windass went, I wouldn't be heartbroken in terms of the future. I would be sad to see him go because he's been quality for us and he could continue to be quality for us. But again, you bring in a younger player that can play that position, that ceiling is higher, then you look at that. And I think that's the rational way to look at it.
But I think can I just say as well, I think his leadership qualities are not getting really much of a mention that they should here because there's him, Bannon and Windass. That trio of players really do get it. Like what it means to be Wednesday players.
Do you mean him, Palmer, and Windass?
Windass.
Yeah, him, Palmer, and Bannon.
Him, Palmer, and Bannon. That's what
yes, you said. Right? No, you didn't. No, you said him, Bannon, and Windass.
Brain fart. Sorry. Him.
It's all right.
Him, Bannon, and Palmer, that holy trinity of players, are the ones that really, really get the club and what the fan base is about, what the club's about, what the city is about. And if we lose Windass, we're losing a crucial person that can get through to any new players just what it means to play for this club. And I just think that his leadership qualities in the dressing room as well are just so important that we can't lose that just yet, I don't think. Because we haven't had enough of an emerging leader from the younger players that is one of ours coming through it just yet, I don't think. And that seems to be getting overlooked a little bit in a lot of talks in the journalism world, in the comments sections and whatever else. And I just think that's more. It's like when we had Jose Semedo and he stuck around with his leadership qualities, even though he was barely going to be played under Carlos, but he stuck around anyway because they knew how important his leadership qualities were in that dressing room. And yes, Windass will be getting more game time, but it's the same thing.
I understand what you're saying, but Jake, I actually want to move on to. I think this is more important player to keep than Windass for me, Liam Palmer. So I'll start on this. Liam Palmer. This is why I understand where you're going with the leadership qualities and things like that, but I think you've got that in Palmer and Bannon. They're the two cruxes for me that need this side. Palmer, is a Wednesday fan, has been a Wednesday fan since he was young. He is the only embodiment of that we have at the club. For me, it's an essential player that we keep. And I'm sure, Jake, you agree on that one.
100%.
Yeah. I want him to finish his career here. I want him to finish his career.
I want him and Bannon to retire at Wednesday. That's very simple.
Yep.
Because I think they deserve it. And I think you get Liam Palmer. Liam Palmer's had that whole thing where he's had to fight for each manager that's normally come in to fight for his place, and he's always done it 100%. He's the player that will give you 110%, even when needs a double hernia operation at the end of last season.
I think the money needs to be sensible, though, but I think it should be, and I think he'll understand that. If he wants like a longer contract with options, I think it should be a case if you do the staggered wages.
I think a lot of
you start on this,
deals
blah, blah, blah.
that we're doing, if you've noticed over the last 12 months, we're putting deals in front of players with options, which we haven't done in a long time.
Yeah. Jack, Palmer.
Yes, keep, for the same reasons that I was saying about Windass. He's far too important, and he's basically Mr. Sheffield Wednesday, so keep him. And
yes,
is it more than good enough to be in a promotion challenging side in the Championship, in my opinion? So, yes, keep him.
I think that as well, especially even if you looked at him as a squad player, he's good enough to be in that
definitely.
there. But he's shown it, and we'll talk about another Wednesday fan now. Actually, Cameron Dawson, Jack,
let him go. He needs to have the same opportunity that Wildsmith had. He needs to be able to spread his wings somewhere else and be someone else's number one, because I just can't see him being the number one here, especially under a Danny system. I don't think he's good enough with his feet for the distribution aspect of it, and I just think he deserves to have a better shot somewhere else that's under a more of a Darren Moore style system or whatever else, you know. I can't see him making it under Danny.
I think, he could. If Darren Moore got relegated, you'd have thought he'd go to somewhere potentially. It's one of those things where that could have made sense.
He could still go there though, because he went to Exeter.
It's true, but I think he is better than that. I think he's a really good League One keeper. But
I think
Jack,
Jake, for me, the bit that annoys me that when it's come to Wednesday fan and they play for the club, you have that whole thing. You always want them to be here and do well. He have done well here, but for his career, he needs to go do what Joe did. He needs to go and get.
Yeah, he does.
I didn't get really cool, but I had the whole thing when Joe left. I said he needs to go do it for his own legacy with his kid. And it's not the same thing with Dawson, but I think he needs to do it for his own legacy with him. So
he just needs to do it as a player because he is a good keeper. He doesn't fit our system.
No.
And you know what? I think when Danny Röhl came in, it was one too many managers that have realised that Dawson doesn't fit the system. Yeah. Dawson, I don't know if his level will fit not his level, but his style. I think he will forever be a top-end League One, lower-end Championship keeper. And he might surpass that because he's not reached his prime yet, right?
No.
But I think at the minute, that's where he is. He needs to go to one of those
28.
clubs. Do you know who he'd be great for? But I just don't think he'd go there, and I don't think he should. Barnsley.
Yeah.
Or even Rotherham if they lose Johansson.
I think he should.
You know where he should go?
I think he should go to a Portsmouth or something like that.
No, you know where you think? I reckon he should go back to Exeter. Where he went on loan.
They are in League One now, aren't they? I think Exeter.
I think they survived.
Yeah,
I think they survived.
If they survive, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say go back to Exeter. They loved him. He was part of a promotion-winning team. Exeter survived. They were 13th last season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Then that makes sense. Go to Exeter, Dawson, and thank you for everything you've done for Wednesday. But I can't see him getting a new contract anyway, and I don't think he should. I don't think he'll accept it if he gets offered it. I think it's time. Dominic Iorfa, Jake.
I think it's time for Iorfa to go.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I like him, and I think he's really good, but it's a mixture. That whole thing, I think he could do with a bit of a change of scene because he's been here under a lot of managers and different things, and we've got a lot of players who can only get about 20 games out of them for whatever reason. And then they seem to go and leave us and go and do amazingly, i.e. Massimo Luongo. I think Dominic Iorfa one of those ones. If you're wanting to put a new system in play, because if you look at what we've had Wickway and Bernard, I think he's going to look for a younger version of Dominic Iorfa instead of keep him.
That's interesting.
I think there's if we had someone else lined up, like another Bernard or something, like similar mold, he probably don't get in. Because he hasn't played much this season anyway. When he comes in, he really steps up. But,
I don't know. Let me check his appearances, because I feel you might be right. He's made 28 appearances. That's not a loads, but he's been pretty present for us.
But he's had that little niggle. The only thing he hasn't played a lot under Danny, has he? He's had to come in when there's been an injury.
He's had lots of bench appearances, hasn't he? Like
I see what you're saying.
In replace of someone that was
and again,
or whatever.
I absolutely love Iorfa. And he's been fastive.
I'm not suggesting you don't, obviously, yeah.
At the same time, I think it might be that time. I think he'd do really well at someone like a Birmingham in League One.
Jack, what do you think on that? He came from Wolves. Do you think he'd go to Birmingham?
But they're direct rivals West Brom. It's different. They're
the
Black Country rather than Brummies.
I think it's a bit
but you think that about Rotherham and Barnsley with us, but they don't shut up about us, do they?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
I'm a similar way inclined. I think he's been too injury prone. If you look at his actual, like, all of his years with us, like, I think the season that he got signed was the only real season he wasn't plagued with injuries. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but
you are wrong.
Oh well, but yeah.
But
anyway,
it's the second
he's
season.
Had a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of injuries under while playing for us, and I just I think as fast as he is at running, in a way, I think he's a bit too slow on the ball itself, and I don't think that he can keep up with the passing ability that Danny would want and the intensity and crispness of it.
You know what the problem you got, Jack, and that I got as well? We both said the same thing about Windass, and we said keep, and this is the issue. It's a difficult one because we got a couple of players who do seem to get injuries, but step up when needed.
Yeah, but I don't think... I think Iorfa would just be a bench player anyway, and I don't...
This is where I actually want to weigh into this. I think yes. As a starter, no, but I think as a squad player, he offers versatility, and it depends on what he's building. So I think another year, I think he'll go off. I think he'll go, but I wouldn't be upset to see Wednesday offer him a year. Yeah, as a squad player, because he made... He started to turn it around in terms of the appearances, like 28 this season, 32 last season. Before that, it wasn't great. His first season in League One, he had 19 appearances, and then in the relegation season, he only had 10. That's when he hit his injuries. But he's starting to come back to a more... I think he's being managed a little bit better, and I think it's one of those things, as a squad player, he made 30 overall appearances for us this season. I believe... Oh, by the way, he made 45 overall appearances for us last season. He made a lot of appearances for us last season. We can't take that into... it was because we had a lot of cup competitions as well, didn't we, last season?
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah.
So, what we've got in terms
I've got to say on that point as well, last season, look how many times he was giving the ball away in crucial positions that led to a goal.
He hasn't done... For me, he hasn't done that this season, though. I don't know if... I don't think he's done that this season. You can correct me if you want.
He's been on the bench a lot. He's not made many appearances.
Right. He's only missed 16 games. Well, 18 league games, which is quite a lot, actually. But it's one of those when you actually look at the whole thing. He's... I don't know. I think he's a squad player. I understand your point. I think he's a squad player. I just think he's got that versatility.
We've seen him play... player, but...
We've seen him play centre-back, right-back, central defence. Danny likes using a 3 quite a lot. He fits in that 3 quite well. He covers for other players.
You know where I would say you could possibly do it?
What?
You converted him to CDM.
You all have said that before, but I don't think that... I think that ship sailed with him, to be honest.
Well, he would... but then again, you look at what he would try to do.
Let me put it to you this way. Would you prefer to have Dominic Iorfa in the back 3 or Akinfenwa?
Iorfa.
Oh, yeah, Iorfa,
yeah.
I think.
There you go.
Sorry, Akin, but yeah.
There you go. That's awkward.
Yep.
Google's just done something it shouldn't do. Google Akinfenmewo and see what picture comes up. Sort your stuff out, Google. I'm not saying it on the podcast. It's just not ideal.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not great, is it?
No.
Oh, no.
Anyway, Akinfenmewo's got a contract, so he's not going to be one we're going to be talking about there.
No.
His runs out next summer.
Well,
Michael Owetwe's got another contract. We're going to go on to Bernard because we're still in the defenders. So Bernard's contract is running out. Now, I think all three of us are going to say, yes, keep him.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's our decision. Do you, lads?
No.
I don't think we've got a Kynell's chance.
The only thing that you could possibly throw at it is Danny puts a massive big sale pitch in front of him and said, do you want to still be part of this next season? Kind of thing.
I think he's going to Ipswich.
I think he's going to Ipswich as well.
I would keep him, but I really don't like that he has used us to get a platform.
Oh, no, Jack. He had a great spell when he's been at Hull before. He's had a great spell when he's been at Pompey. Every club uses a club as a platform. If we were absolutely rubbish and we went down, you'd be going, oh, he's got to go. Every club uses them as a platform. We were lucky to get him when we did get him.
We said at the time when we got him, he was protecting his interests, and I didn't blame him. But I am at that situation now where I would have liked us to have an option in there.
I would think it would be silly. I don't. There's parts of me that doesn't like with what we've accomplished this season that he's still very much in the camp of I'm going off somewhere else rather than.
Understandable.
Anyway,
if he goes
whatever.
anywhere in the Championship, I completely agree with you, unless it's one of the relegated sides. However, if he goes to Ipswich, that makes perfect sense because I'm telling you, his level is going to be there. I actually think if we do keep him, which I think we should try to do, he will be a shepherding central defender that gives us more of a chance of the likes of the playoffs and promotion. So I agree in terms of it depends on the sale pitch that goes out there. But I also have this thing as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Yes, how dare you use my club as a stepping stone? But I think that's exactly what it was sold to him on because he probably wouldn't have come to us. Otherwise, he would have had a lot of options on the table.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Will Volks, Jake.
Yes. You give him another year. I think when they start getting past 30, it's a year with an option and we'll see how you do. I think we've got to work on that model now. I think in the midfield he works well. I think if you get someone who's a younger player who can learn off Will and then mentor him, I think it's a yes for me because he's done really well. It's just he's a good squad player. That squad player, if you get players in and around him and then you need another legs off the bench, he can do that for you. He'll come on and give you 110%.
Yeah. Jack?
I agree. Same answer as Jake, really. So I can't really add anything more to that. So
again, do you know what I'm realising as we say all of this, though? I'm again in the camp of one more year, which makes me think, are we going to do it? Because if Danny's building for a bigger project, will he want 1 year? I don't know. I actually don't know.
He might want it for just having a bit of squad depth.
Yeah.
Transition.
In terms of Volks, yes.
Yeah.
In terms of Volks, yes. I think he's just won our Player of the Year, for example. I think our midfield's weak, and it's going to be weaker. So he makes sense to give another contract for sure. Because Byers...
He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's linked. He's linked with the club today, actually, I believe.
He's in talks with the club, apparently. Apparently he's in talks with Huddersfield Town, which is interesting because Huddersfield Town don't have a manager at the minute, but they're already planning for stuff.
It makes sense, though. He can stay relatively
one can do well. He doesn't have to move. He can stay where he lives. It makes a lot of sense. And Byers, there was a lot of people calling for Byers to come back. He just doesn't work in a Danny Röhl system.
No.
That's the only reason why it's not worked. He just doesn't work in it.
Great player, but as you said, doesn't fit that system there. Marvin Johnston, interesting one. I think he's got another year.
I think he got another year, but I'm not sure. People think he has. Some people, it hasn't come out yet, but we'll see. If he had got
we'll
another
talk
year,
about that one further. Yeah,
That'll be one that's on the retained list whenever that comes out, I guess.
Exactly.
We'll
Pato got an option of the year, apparently, and 100% you keep him. I've seen a lot of people say
all right, so we'll move on then. So Pato then. Do you think we keep him?
Yes. 100% because he gives you that player that'll do the running that you need to get in people's faces, which we haven't had. And look at how much when Pato came back from being injured, Danny went, "You're going on," and he caused a lot of the making a mistake. If our game is full on press, there's no one better at that than Pato.
I actually agree with you. I think he made. Because I was ready, I would have been ready before Danny Röhl to go, Pato, he's a utility player while we've got him sort of thing. But the way he's been utilised, we will look so much better a squad in certain situations with Callum Patterson in it. So, yeah, I would say give him another deal. What do you think, Jack?
I agree. I mean, if you remember back to that, the god-awful Norwich game at home towards the end of the season, he dragged us back into that point, kicking and screaming. The team with how they were playing did not want to win that, clearly. And yet,
do you remember
he
that
dragged us
game?
back into it.
At home. Was it at home or was it that? I can't remember. It was the Leicester game where we got 1-1, and it was him and Cads up top. And I remember I think you did a watch-along for it, Dex, and we were talking how much Cads and Pato were just pressing hard to win the ball back.
Yeah.
And it's what caused us to get the corner in the first place.
No, I see it. I am worried that we're saying this a lot because I'm thinking, are we getting sentimental here? But Pato is a player that can...
I mean, we're not because it fits the system.
It does.
And even though it's a 1 year for these players, it's a good transition
also,
to
if you've got a
mentor
year,
the newer players coming in.
And if you've got a year on them, if we do get people who are better, and so he comes in from, say, like a Hart wanted him last season, we get money.
That's true. Lee Gregory is leaving. We're going to talk about his goodbye message in a little while, actually, the next topic. So he is gone. It makes sense. He's been great for us. He didn't get the send-off he deserved, in my opinion, but we'll move on to that in a second. And yeah, I think that's it. Is it? Am I missing players? Reece James.
Reece James. And there's players like Kieran Brennan and stuff like that.
The younger players.
Yeah.
Which we will assume are off. But let's talk about in terms of first team. As Reece James, for me, it's not worked. He's not a Danny player. He's not a Danny player. He should. I think he'll drop back down to League One.
He came in when we needed someone in when we didn't know what was going on.
Jack, you're not allowed to take a victory lap because he was playing until Danny Röhl.
I wasn't going to, I was just quietly thinking it.
I was wondering. Because the thing is, I remember you actually, we were saying at the start of the season, Inti playing well.
Absolutely just bent over a barrel for having that opinion that Reece James wouldn't fit in with this championship squad. And
he did until we got the new manager.
Well, I mean...
Did he even play much under Cisco?
He only made a couple of appearances under Cisco even, and he wasn't all that great.
He's only made 8 appearances this season.
I'm trying to... It's copium in the fact that I remember I remember talking to you at one point.
You were so hardline. Yes, Reece James in.
Yes.
And I remember Andy at one point, I think it was.
Hang on.
There was one many people that were hardline.
Where I was...
Reece James.
Jack, I'm not letting you have this because you turned round and went, I am wrong. From when he has played, he has been fantastic. And actually, we were wondering why he hadn't played more. I remember that being a conversation. But it comes to a point where we get later in the season. No, it was this season. Somebody go back through the episodes.
Actually,
find it where Jack ate his own words. It was in there.
You're thinking of my comments on Marvin Johnson, actually.
No, I'm not. It was on an episode where you went, oh yeah, I see what you mean about Reece James now. I'm not making it up. It's there somewhere. Someone will find it. But anyway, I think what has shown is since Danny Röhl specifically, it's not been a thing, and we've not missed him, unfortunately. But yes, somebody find that because I am 100% certain that I had Jack on, and he went, The thing that I'm slightly worried about was it before an episode where me and Jake were ripping into you and you went, yeah, all right, I get it. Because that's a thing as well that happens sometimes. So it might not be in an episode, but it has to be somewhere. And now I'm annoyed. You
just don't want me to be right, do you?
No, I agree. I agree that you are right over the course of the year. Yeah. But actually,
I think in the position,
I think from the perspective, yes,
in the position we win, we needed players in. And
also, we thought he was going to play under Darren Moore. Let's just say that.
No, we didn't, because he signed when Sicko coming in.
No, yeah, that's true. I thought
it was like a day or two before the announcement of Darren Moore leaving.
I thought it was, yeah,
something like that. It was like
if it wasn't
on in the window.
I can find out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I thought we speculated
before Darren Moore left.
It was a bit of a nostalgia goggles, like we need somebody in quick, like panic stations. Oh, Reece James will come in. There we go.
Either way, Jack, over time, yes. we knew you because we even said, I do remember us saying in that conversation, I said, towards the end of the season is when you will review it, because it's a case of I don't think he'll be the future of the club, but I think for what we have right now, he's better than what we've got, and I stand by that. He was better than what we had.
30th of June.
Oh, when did Darren Moore leave?
Yeah, when did Darren Moore leave? I'm pretty sure
I'm
that was
just
August,
doing that
right?
now. No.
Or July?
May.
No, June. May.
Near the end of May.
He didn't leave in May.
Oh, right.
It wasn't May, was it? Was it?
Darren Moore left. Oh, that's the silence. Hang on. 19th of June.
Ah.
So 19th of June, he leaves.
So he did leave before.
So when Reece James signed, he was literally, we haven't got any players, we need you to sign.
Oh, right, okay. We must have done our speculation episode beforehand, because I remember Darren Moore being a big point of that conversation when we were talking about contracts. Yeah. I'm referring to, I'm trying to think back to a podcast rather than a thing. But yes, Reece James, he will be off. Have I missed anyone else? I don't think I have.
I don't think you have.
I think it's all about additions, guys, and building on what we've got. The more I think about it now, yes, maybe if we aren't being sentimental, then yes, if we can strengthen in that position, players like Iorfa maybe do go.
If you put players on 1-year deals and then you strengthen and then you go, hey, I've strengthened in your position, we will let you go, then you have the situation where you still recruit what you got. Because the one thing we've been poor at over the years is just letting players go for nothing instead of just cashing in on them.
Yeah. Oh my God, we've got so much to talk about today. Let's move on to where have the goodbye messages gone? Have you deleted them or? No, it's just
there's
such
a big gap in the
big document.
Yes.
Yeah, there is
because of the pictures and not the actual messages.
So, to rapturous applause by all of us on the Talking Wednesday podcast, guys, they are doing work on the training ground.
Yes, at last. Oh,
I think we should actually do an extra on this, personally, because not today, but we will do an extra on this where we talk about what this means. But let's just say we're all very positive about this situation. It might not be as big as we think, but it's another sign that maybe Danny Röhl is sticking around, because it's a stepping stone. Yes. And finally, it's happening. We will update you as that updates.
There was security still at Hillsborough the other night at about 9 p.m. when I went past on the bus. I was like, that's a weird time to still have security there.
Yeah. And we are going long, guys.
I saw on Twitter that just after it was towards the end of the season, there was a time when why would anybody still be there? And the lights were all still on at 10 p.m. Dead into the night as well. And it's just like, what is something's happening. It's weird.
Well, apparently they've the dome, they've completely they're resurfacing it and everything as well.
The dome is going back up, which is a big thing. It means we stop training on a bloody pitch.
Yeah, which is massive, really.
The stupid thing is we can't put proper drainage in place or anything because it's council owned. So we've just got to work with their effectively public park quality surfaces. And it's just
I reckon we'll try and work with them a bit more, though.
Yeah,
I think that's I think there's been talks about that. It's positive sort of talks with the council sort of thing they want. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll talk about the training ground a little bit more in a Talking Wednesday Extra, and we're going to move on to the goodbye messages from players so we don't keep you here for 3 hours today. Lee Gregory said the following: I have not been on this for some time now. He's referring to Twitter, but I just wanted to say personally from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone at SWFC. This past year has not been what I wanted and how I wanted my career here to finish. I have been gutted about it, and I wish it was different, as everyone who knows me knows all I wanted to do was play. I am so happy this team stayed up because you all deserve it. I have had some of the best memories as a footballer can get at this club, and a promotion last year that will stay with me forever. The game at home against Peterborough was the best atmosphere I have ever seen and been involved in. I will be seeing you soon at Hillsborough, as my son is now a massive Wednesday fan and wants to watch all the games. Thank you. So, Lee Gregory didn't get the send-off we wanted for him. He obviously was quite upset in the way it went down, obviously reading that message. Jake, what do you think?
I think we treated him a little bit badly with not giving the send-off he deserved. He was a huge component.
It's quite difficult. It's quite difficult in terms of him actually playing in that last fixture, but in terms of like him not even being, he brings his kid on and he's not really had much. I think he wasn't a focal point of it, was he?
He wasn't a focal point, but it was just like, oh, look, it's Lee coming on the pitch. Instead, it should have been, and Lee Gregory, who won't be here. Like, there should have been something kind of thing. It just felt like that just because he wasn't a big part player this season, that he hasn't been a big part player for his time here. You look at what he did in the playoff. You look at what he did in the final. If he doesn't get that ball to Windass, we don't go up.
Yeah.
We're sitting here thinking, are we a championship club or are we a League One club, and going to penalties? He did it really well. When he first came in, he was a shrewd bit of business on a free transfer who knew how to score goals. His first season here, I think he got about 16. He was our top goal scorer, something like that. And the fact that he's realised how much the fans love him and are taken to it, and realised there've been a lot of fans this season who have been like, why don't we try Gregory, or had that to it. It's just so disappointing to hear that it just didn't go the way he wanted to, because he just wasn't, for whatever reason, trusted by managers. And he might have been able to give us that extra bit, even if it was just off the bench when we could have needed a goal. But he will always go down as a Sheffield Wednesday legend. I know that's a bit of a big word, but he parted that Hillsborough miracle. He parted that playoff team who gave up belief, who enjoyed it. And wherever you go next, good luck in the rest of your footballing career. And it's been a pleasure watching you play for our beloved club.
Before I go to you, Jack, I'll give my thoughts on this one. I actually remember saying, I don't understand why we're keeping all these strikers last season. Lee Gregory would have been sad to go, and there would have been a bit of uproar at the time, but actually I think it made sense when you had Smith in contract. I didn't understand why we kept him on for this season, and it makes even less sense now when we've basically not used him.
I don't get why we didn't let Derby get him in
that for me is,
in January,
we should have just let him go. Yeah. Or then, when that was a thing, because that was a thing. I just don't think we've treated him very well, which I'm not too happy about.
No. Yeah.
But Jack.
Well, I think on that note, it was negotiation tactics had crept in from past missed out opportunities again of last minute. Oh, I want X amount more for Lee Gregory.
Let's not go into that.
Let's not go into that. I will say, actually, that's a criticism of Danny Röhl from me. He could have handled the man management side of Lee Gregory a lot better there, and I don't think he was sort of frozen out, but not as coldly as he was under Cisco. But nevertheless, he could have been dealt with a little less freezing out, in my opinion. And he did deserve, I think, if not the Sunderland game, then at the very end of the West Brom game, when we needed to just give a striker a bit of a rest or whatever, rest their legs. There we go. That's your opportunity to have Lee Gregory on the pitch, because he could have done something. He could have even made it 4-0 or something. I don't know. But
I mean, you could have technically had him on the bench and brought him in on the 90th minute of the Sunderland game. Yeah, you could have done that.
Game management.
We were 2-0 up.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, it's really sad that he didn't get a very big send off, because he did deserve it. Like Jake's sort of said, really, I think in my head, he's now got the same sort of level of fame as like Lee Peacock and that. Not the huge names from the Cardiff playoff winning side, but like the ones that everyone loved to bits years and years later.
Why shouldn't he? That's my argument, right? Because I think that's the thing as Wednesday fans. We look back in nostalgia, right? And we actually came up in the very similar way, if not, well, better. We came up better. So it's like, for me, they should hold the same thing. And I think they will in time. Yeah. I think they'll hold that in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so Icky Ugbo has also done a goodbye message that says this: to all the Sheffield Wednesday fans, staff and teammates, thank you for all the experience you have given me this season. When I first joined the club in January, I knew the upward battle we had to face, but from day one I felt togetherness from the whole club was going to pull us through. From the belief from the manager to the constant support from the fans, we managed to get the job done. Even though it's only been a few months, the journey we've been on together is one I will never forget. Thank you, Owls. Now, I want to more talk about the fact that we're going to talk about this quickly, sort of thing. We're not going to go into it too much details, but the comments underneath are basically, are you coming back now, mate? Pretty much.
From players.
Aren't they, Jack?
Yeah, Barry Bannon even said, there was Barry Bannon that said to be continued with, I think it was like a couple of emojis, whatever. But Barry Bannon, the club captain, saying to be continued.
I can tell you what they were. There were Liam Palmer, Pleasure Brother. There was Love Playing With Your Bro. Barry Bannon to be continued. Bailey's with just Henderson emoji. Marvin with Uggs, and Anthony Masabu was hopefully part 3 with a heart emoji.
No, cool. No, that's good. I think that's good in terms of from the players. I think we need. I don't know what I was saying there. Sorry, I got a notification, and that's so unprofessional. It completely threw me off. But I've got. I
don't think we've had a lone player make an impact like this since Kenwyne Jones did.
I remember what I was about to say now. The players are kind of giving us that veiled message that we all want you back here, and I think if Danny's here, the work's going to be put in there to come back. So
it's already been talked about this week that apparently we are looking at hopefully doing talks and doing something to bring him back. And again, silly season. There's everything.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's talk about this one really quickly. Yeah, we can do it. Honestly, man, we can make a whole episode on that sort of thing. I'm not trying to rush us towards the end, but I also do have to go out shortly as well, so I am slightly rushing us towards the end. Apologies. We have got to mention that Sky Sports, the iFollow deal isn't going to be as bad as we thought when they're going to Sky Sports, because they are basically inventing something called Sky Sports Plus, which is going to be an app replacement where we can talk about where you can see your game in the Championship, League One, League Two. Each club are going to be shown 20 times, at least 20 times this season on that app, which is basically what we've already got. So we're not going to be missing anything. And what you're going to do now, if you are a Sky Sports, if you do pay for that, you're not going to have to pay for the iFollow stream. So actually, you benefit.
And it's also, it's also killing their red button thing which is good, because I don't know how many.
No, it's good because
the red button
comment. Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where if they are focusing on it, that's what I want to see from them. Really, a focused, dedicated app that we can
Remember
all
what we said about
utilize.
staying up and the new TV money being really crucial if we stay up.
Here it is.
Yep. In fairness, though, we'd have still had the iFollow money because it's obviously going to Leagues 1 and 2 as well. But you do find Sheffield Wednesday on Sky main channels a little bit more when we're in the Championship.
The deal is 935 million will involve 1,000 matches being shown from the second tier Championship downward, including commitment to show every one of the involved in the 72 clubs at least 20 times. 935
and I bet they show. I bet you see so much Wrexham. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
It's part of our new deal. It will see the broadcast increase its live coverage by about 50% next season. But do you want to cover the 3 p.m. blackout? Because it's an interesting thing for the first weekend of football. James?
I don't think there is, because I think they've just moved the kickoff times. I don't know. I don't know where you've seen this, because I know you've said that they think of moving that, but I think they've just what I've heard is they've just moved.
Said, the 3 p.m. football blackout have been scrapped by EFL and Guy Fawkes for the opening weekend of the season, with every game to be broadcast. Now, is that going to be because it's going to be a 12 o'clock kickoff? Is it because they're going to do a 5 o'clock kickoff? It doesn't actually say.
That's what people are talking. That's true. It does say that it's been scrapped in that regard, but what I was reading online was what they actually mean is they haven't got rid of it. Is they've pushed half of the games to 12 o'clock, half of the games to like 5:30, and some of them to the Sunday. It's not like a normal opening day anymore. So we'll see what actually happens and whether because if they do scrap it, well,
it'll only be for one game.
That's going to be a thing in itself.
I've just run the numbers, by the way. Theoretically, if all 72 clubs were to receive the same amount from that 935 million, which of course it will be more of a top-down structure naturally. If it was an even split, we'd be getting about just under £13 million for the year. 13 million.
Jesus.
I told you all last season, staying up for the TV money was important.
Whereas it's only like I think 2 or 3 currently under the current structure, but feel free to, if you know that figure, to put it in the comments or whatever. But
that's mental.
Like,
that is mental.
Massive.
That's gonna see you're gonna see inflation on a whole new level. I think. But it is for the first cut. But I think then we're gonna see football inflation again.
Yeah.
But with
that's
the new
thing that comes with
independent regulator, big fees for players and whatnot are actually potentially a thing of the past as well. So it actually might end up being much more of an even playing field, even with parachute payments being in place. Well,
there's a lot happening in football in general at the minute.
They can't. They don't ever want to consider scrapping parachute payments because they get enough from the Premier League anyway.
No, what'll happen is we'll go to the Premier League, we'll get relegated, and that'll be the year they decide to scrap parachute payments.
Parachute payments, yep.
You've got to remember the parachute payments are not set by the EFL, though, mate. They're set by the Premier League, and then the EFL are just going to do what they're told.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But yes, that is all I've got for this week's episode. Quite a long episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast. This is probably going to be quite long going forward. But Jack, do you have anything to say before we leave?
Just thank you for a good mirroring what I said last time I was on. Just thank you for a great season. It's going to be silly season. Don't believe everything you read on Twitter because most of it will probably just be people baiting likes on their tweets about, ooh, we're linked with XYZ. Believe it when it comes out of a legitimate news source and nothing else.
Remember the question marks. If I put a question mark on a video,
yes,
speculation topic. There you go.
Often, more often
watchers.
than not, any videos I make will have a lot of sarcasm involved. So, dear God, don't take, for example, the video I did on Danny Röhl. I said that I did the same thing with the question mark. It's sarcasm.
You two need to put scenes in OBS, which is just a piece of paper saying sarcasm, so you can get your sarcasm sign.
Yeah, literally, just
But Jake, do you have anything to round us off with?
Everyone's so serious. Anyway,
it's a silly season. It's going to be lots of rumours and stuff, and let's just enjoy the fact we stayed up. Let's have a good Euro watching football, and let's just see what happens, because it's going to be a long, long summer, and hopefully we don't have a summer like last time, and we can enjoy watching a building process instead of a dismantle.
And we're going to win the league next year. See?
Enjoy. Enjoy watching the Röhl revolution. But that's it for this episode of Talking Wednesday. Take care, guys. And we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See ya.
See you later.